Sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
This is why we don't trust anything that the sheriff of Valdosta said, that anything ever come out their mouth.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
And his legs and feet were hanging out of the mat. He wasn't moving, and the smell, it smelled bad. You could smell it. And his legs and feet were hanging out of the mat. And his legs and feet were hanging out of the mat. He wasn't moving, and the smell, it smelled bad. You could smell it. The shock had, left us all, and we'd realized that one of our classmates had died in our school, right?
Hello and welcome to Reckless Crime. Before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the most mysterious and disturbing cases of the last decade, the death of Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick Johnson was a 17-year-old high school student who was found dead inside a rolled-up gym mat at his school in Valdosta, Georgia in 2013. The police ruled his death an accident, but his family and many others believe that he was murdered and that there was a cover-up involving local authority and the FBI. In this video, I will go over the facts, the theories, and the evidence surrounding this case, and try to answer the question, what really happened to Kendrick Johnson? Kendrick Johnson was born on October 10, 1995, to Jackie and Kenneth Johnson. He had 2 older sisters and a younger brother. He lived in Valdosta, Georgia, a small city near the Florida border with a history of racial tension and segregation. Kendrick attended Lowndes High School, where he was a 3-sport athlete and dreamed of playing professional football. He was described by his family and friends as a sweet and quiet boy who loved music, video games, and hanging out with his cousins. On January 10, 2013, Kendrick went to school as usual. He had a physical education class in the gymnasium at around 1:30 p.m., where he was seen by several classmates and teachers. After that, he was supposed to go to his next class, but he never showed up. His parents became worried when he didn't come home that evening and reported him missing to the police. The next morning, on January 11th, some students who were entering the gymnasium noticed a pair of feet sticking out from a vertical rolled-up wrestling mat that was standing among several other mats in a corner of the gym. They climbed up to the top of the mats and saw that it was Kendrick's body inside the mat. They immediately alerted the school staff and called 911.
Yeah, we got a body in Valdosta-Lowndes High School now. There's a dead body out here.
But the video does not show how his body ended up here, inside a rolled-up gym mat in a lonely space just over 14 inches wide.
Police arrived at the scene and declared Kendrick dead. They took photos and videos of the body and the surrounding area, collected some evidence such as bloodstains on a nearby wall and on Kendrick's clothes, and interviewed some students and teachers who were present in the gym that day. They also contacted the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to perform an autopsy on Kendrick's body. The autopsy concluded that Kendrick had died from positional asphyxia, meaning that he suffocated as a result of being stuck upside down in an enclosed space for an extended period of time. The police accepted this finding and closed their case within 24 hours of finding Kendrick's body. They claimed that Kendrick had accidentally fallen into the mat while reaching for one of his sneakers that he had stored there along with another pair of shoes so as not to pay for a locker. Kendrick's family was not convinced by the police's explanation of his death. They felt that their son's death was not being taken seriously by the authorities, in part because of his race or because of a larger cover-up involving powerful people in the community. They hired a private pathologist to conduct a second autopsy on Kendrick's body, which revealed that he had...
Well, the sounds of those grinding chains echoed through the Sunset Cemetery in Valdosta today as Kendrick Johnson's grave was exhumed for a second time. The Johnson family hoping another autopsy will help them figure out what happened to their son. Johnson's death made headlines 5 years ago when he was found dead in a rolled-up gym mat at Lowndes County High. 2 autopsies were conducted after his death, one saying he died from strangulation, the other saying it was blunt force trauma. Now, the Johnsons were at the graveside this morning, and as you can imagine, it was a very emotional experience for them. WAOB News 10's Damon Arnold spoke with the family afterwards. And Damon, how are they holding up right now?
Carla, the family tells me that they are holding up as best they can given the circumstance.
Died from blunt force trauma to his neck, indicating that he had been struck by an object or a person before he died. The second autopsy also discovered that some of Kendrick's organs were missing from his body, and that he had been stuffed with newspaper instead. The family accused the funeral home that handled Kendrick's body of mishandling or tampering with it, but the funeral home denied any wrongdoing. The family then filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Lowndes County Board of Education and several school officials, alleging that they failed to protect Kendrick from harassment and violence at school. They also filed another lawsuit against 38 individuals, including 2 sons of a local FBI agent who they suspected of killing Kendrick and covering up their crime with the help of their father and other law enforcement officers. However, both lawsuits were dismissed by a judge who ruled that there was no evidence to support the family's claims and ordered them to pay more than $292,000 in legal fees to the defendant.
Apparently showed up at his son's residences recently.
This is where they knocked the morning of around 5 a.m. You can see the scuff marks from the shoes as the U.S. Marshals knocked.
I was laying in bed. I got a bang on my door.
Tactical gear?
Yes, sir, to the nth degree.
It was just like, it's about the Kendrick Johnson case, the ongoing Kendrick Johnson investigation.
Brandon Bell says what he and brother Brian Bell woke up to in 2 different rental places July 21st was worse than a bad dream. Deputy U.S. Marshal serving search warrants in connection with the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson at Lowndes High School in 2013.
And I was just really shocked.
I broke down and cried.
I really had no reason in my head why they would be here.
It just keeps on getting worse.
One might imagine Kendrick Johnson's mom feels like she's in a nightmare that won't end.
Kendrick gives me strength. You know, he was our baby. He was my son.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out.
I would imagine practically every one of your viewers sat scratching their head.
And a lawsuit by Johnson's parents alleges a group including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
My only angle is to find justice for my son.
But the Bell civil attorneys, Patrick O'Connor and Bryce Ladson, say the July 21st search warrants sought text messages, emails, and the like relevant to alleged witness tampering and obstruction of justice.
Is it possible you were involved in any witness tampering or obstruction?
No, sir. In no possible way whatsoever.
Have you obstructed justice in any way?
No.
Have you tampered with any witnesses? Tried to influence anybody? Tried to stop somebody from talking in the Kendrick Johnson investigation?
No.
Where our viewers can look in your eyes. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir. Nor me or my family had anything to do with his death.
Both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Where were you?
I was in class.
Videos, pictures, and theories abound online about what happened, some involving school surveillance video. We talked to Brandon Bell about his appearance.
I was changing clothes before I had to leave for the wrestling tournament that we were going to. And I went in there to check my weight the first time. I changed, and then the shirt that was assumed to have blood on it that they had circled and said blood, it actually said RLX. It's a type of polo.
How's it feel to get your side out?
Great. Because I finally, we've just been sitting here. Not just letting everybody else talk.
The family appealed the decision, but their appeal was denied. Meanwhile, the family and their supporters organized several protests and rallies to demand justice for Kendrick and to reopen his case. They also attracted the attention of national and international media outlets, celebrities, activists, and politicians who joined their call.
Justice for KJ! Where you want it? Now!
After months of rallies, marches, and sit-ins, and the announcement of a federal investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson,
I will follow the facts wherever they lead.
CNN has learned FBI agents are now conducting interviews in South Georgia. Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, recently sat with investigators for nearly 3 hours. The Johnsons want to know what happened to their son. It's a question Jacqueline Johnson first asked 1 year ago.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I'm calling. My son had come home from school today, and he still haven't got here.
Okay, what's your son's name?
Kendrick Johnson.
That was January 10th, 2013. That afternoon, the 17-year-old ran into the old gym at Lowndes High School. The following day, Kendrick Johnson was found dead, upside down in a rolled gym mat. The Johnsons never believed he died accidentally after getting stuck while reaching for this shoe, as Lowndes County investigators determined.
They knew something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
The Johnsons exhumed Kendrick's body and hired an independent pathologist who determined Kendrick died from blunt force trauma to the neck, not an accident. Lowndes County Lieutenant Strott Jones spoke with CNN in May, the day after the sheriff's office closed its case.
It was not a rash decision that was leapt to by any means. I mean, we've drawn this out, done a thorough investigation, and we think we've covered all bases.
As the FBI conducts its interviews, CNN is taking an in-depth look at the accounts of the first interviews in the Kendrick Johnson case, conducted by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
And we've interviewed slightly over 100 and something people during this investigation. That included students, teachers, some parents that had access during the time period of question there.
We examined every incident report included in the 522-page investigative file. According to the file, Lowndes County investigators interviewed 111 people, including 7 school employees, 3 medical responders, and more than 90 students.
It started on January 11th when Kendrick Johnson was found at Lowndes High School.
The file reveals sheriff's investigators interviewed 18 people the day Kendrick Johnson was found. We took that information to HLN analyst, a former police officer, and member of the FBI response team, Mike Brooks.
I want to interview someone that day, that night, or maybe the following day while things are still fresh in your mind.
However, the documents reveal most interviews occurred months later. Here's the breakdown. Investigators interviewed 33 people in the month of January, just 4 in February, 1 in March, and 72 of the 111 interviews were conducted in April. 1 more in May.
But months later, you start to leave out possibly some crucial pieces of information, because it's in your mind. Sometimes you can recall things that you might not have recalled that particular day, but to a couple days, maybe even a week after it happened. I say week on the outside, but not months, Victor, not months.
Remember, Kendrick's body was found January 11th. The first emergency medical technicians called to the scene, initially for a reported cardiac arrest, were interviewed April 17th. The paramedic who noticed bruising to Kendrick's jaw and considered the gym to be a crime scene was interviewed April 18th. The janitors who cleaned the gym where the body was found yards from these blood streaks on a wall were among the last to be interviewed on April 26th. Local investigators believe the blood is unrelated. However, they've never found whose blood it was or how it got there. And according to their report, the investigators did not ask the janitors about that blood. And look again at the school surveillance video. This was the last time Kendrick Johnson was seen alive. There were other students in the gym, but the investigators' reports have no record of interviews with any of these students.
I looked at the crime scene investigation, evidence collection, the autopsy, the interviews that were done, that were not done in a timely fashion. This is a sloppy case from the get-go.
In a statement to CNN, the attorney for Lowndes County Sheriff's Office writes in part, "We continue to support U.S. Attorney Michael Moore's interest in these tragic circumstances and applaud his urging of the community to come forward with facts and evidence rather than feelings or opinions, no matter how sincere they may be. Sheriff Prine maintains every confidence that his office's investigation was timely and properly prioritized and handled with the necessary diligence to assure that all leads were examined and exhausted, and he welcomes the U.S. Attorney's continued review of the case."
What do you want? Justice!
The Johnsons and their supporters now hope the FBI will get an answer to their question. What happened to Kendrick Johnson?
That's my child, and we're gonna fight till it's all over, until we get the truth. That's all we've ever asked for, was the truth about what happened to Kendrick Johnson.
If I had 100 sheep and one of them got away, I would leave the 99 and go find that one. That's right. Look from the locks and jaws of Satan.
The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out, no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out, no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out, no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.